What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Fleaflicker NFL Show, episode 19, I believe. We're going to talk mostly about the day two trades that happened today, which is day three, but also mostly the day two picks we like. And we'll hit on some of the sleepers. And I am your host, Reed Marsh, to start off with that. And I'm joined by Amal, my co-host. What's up, Amal?
What's up, Reeb? Crazy day yesterday, and an even more crazier day with a couple trades that happened. So can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, let's just hop right into it. So the Washington Redskins finally traded away their, perennial, like all-pro, Pro Bowler left tackle, Trent Williams, to the, San Francisco 49ers. And with related news to that, their longtime left tackle for the 49ers, Joe Staley, he finally retired. And you got Trent Williams to pretty much slot in there. And they gave up a fifth-round pick for this year, which ended up being the center over here, Keith Ismail, and a 2021 for a third-round pick. So Trent Williams is a seven-time Pro Bowler. They just lost their all-pro tackle. I really like this trade for the 49ers, especially because they got pretty cheap value on a Pro Bowler left tackle. Like, this man was arguably like a top five tackle for the last, few years, and they got it for pretty cheap. And the Redskins, you had to give them up, and I guess you're getting some sort of trade value, some sort of, draft capital for it. Your thoughts, Amal?
Yeah, I think this is shame on the Redskins, though, because, they did get some draft capital, but if they traded him earlier on, they could have easily gotten a first out of him. Easily, because he's first-round talent for sure.
They really just messed
Definitely
up the
didn't
whole
even-
situation with him.
Yeah, they did. The longer they kept him, the lower his value got, and I think that's what we're about to see with Ngakoue, and it's pretty poor. I think if a guy wants out, you should probably get traded ASAP, and that's what happened when the Jags traded Jalen Ramsey immediately. They got exactly at his peak value, and props to them.
They held on to Trent Williams for such a long time. I don't think he played last season.
It was over a year. Yeah, exactly. That's too much. I think he's gonna really show out in San Francisco, replacing Joe Staley. We even talked about it in a previous episode on how Joe Staley could potentially retire. He ended up retiring today. Good for him. But yeah, I think this is they could have gotten a lot more for Trent Williams. And I mean, teams like the Browns, I know that the Browns offered way more for Trent Williams. The Jets offered way more for Trent Williams. The Buccaneers offered way more for Trent Williams, and none of those offers were ever accepted by the Redskins prior to the draft. And then during the draft, nobody offered for Trent Williams other than the Niners. So good for them. And yeah,
this is the last stain of Bruce Allen. Well, Bruce Allen was completely insistent on, not trading Trent Williams, and now they finally get rid of him. And the way I see it is getting rid of Trent Williams, getting rid of that last blemish on your record from Bruce Allen, who was a horrible GM for 10 years for that team. And now you're starting over with Ron Rivera, who I believe he has player control and coaching control. And really, it's sort of just getting rid of that last blemish and starting over. They should have traded him earlier, but that's what you get when Bruce Allen is your GM for 10 years. You just have someone completely moronic running affairs for you.
Agreed. Yeah, great acquisition by the Niners. And yes, I agree with the Ron Rivera take. I think he's going to be a really good coach for the Redskins for the future. And yeah.
And now we can hit on the rest of the 49ers trades as well now. They also traded away running back Matt Breida. He requested a trade because he was the odd man out in that backfield to the Miami Dolphins. And they received a fifth-round pick for this year's draft, and they drafted an offensive tackle, Colton McVilt. Have no clue if this guy is good, from West Virginia. I'm going to look into it more. Really, the way I see it is Matt Breida won it out. You got pretty good draft capital, and you drafted hopefully a backup tackle. So what you say, Amal, for this trade?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I think it's good that they got some draft capital out of Matt Breida. He was a pretty good running back for the past couple of years. I think whenever one running back's down, like Tevin Coleman or Raheem Mostert, he's the guy. So yeah, I think the draft compensation is about accurate, 5th round. Maybe it could obviously be more, but I mean it's last minute, so it makes sense though in the composition they got. Yeah, if I'm the Niners, I'd be happy with this pick, and I'm happy that they picked a backup tackle for Mike McGlinchey and their new tackle Trent Williams.
So, do you know who the Dolphins running backs are? Because I know they have Jordan Howard from the Eagles. They have Kalen Ballage, I believe. They also have that weird, I think his name was Patrick Lyard, who was just really
Yep,
like, he's
Patrick
like a
Laird.
scat
Yeah,
back, I think.
yeah,
He was like
yeah.
super underrated. Did they draft anyone in this draft that I'm forgetting about?
I don't think so. I can double check. And if they did, it's not. I don't think it was in the first 3 rounds.
Because lots of people had them getting DeAndre Swift. He never ended up with them. He ended up going to the Detroit Lions instead. And we'll hit on that because this is in the second round as well. But the way I see it, if they didn't draft a running back, then you're pretty much shoring up a pretty okay running back room already. And if you did draft a running back, then that's a pretty crowded running back room. But it's still like a really solid running back room. Matt Breida was really good. He ran for 1,000 yards. And there are multiple times, I think in 2018 it was, where it looked like he was going to get hurt, where it looked like his leg snapped in half, and he still went out there and pulled out even through injury. So you're getting a really, really tough guy, what it seems like, from my understanding. And I think they have not drafted a running back yet, to my knowledge, I think.
Yeah, they haven't. I don't think so.
And then the final of the 49ers trades here, we
It's for
have,
your Eagles.
yeah, Marquise Goodwin, who is an Olympic sprinter, I believe. And Marquise Goodwin, we need speed for that offense. Talking about the trade details really quick, pretty much we switched 6th round picks, I believe, and we got Marquise Goodwin. So it's a steal in my opinion because Marquise Goodwin, yes, he hasn't really played that consistently and he's been hurt, but he's also such a fast guy. Like I said, he's an Olympic sprinter. We also drafted this Auburn offensive tackle, Prince Tega Wanogo. He
He's
was
good.
not supposed to be here at the 6th round, pick 210. He was supposed to go, I think, 4th round. Again, we're getting another backup tackle who,
Yeah.
smart teams end up developing offensive linemen. And that's what we're doing here. The 49ers seem to be tanking their wide receiver corps almost. We were talking about it before the show. Right now they have Deebo Samuel, who's good. They have who else do they have? They have
Jalen Hurd. He's good. They have
Kendrick Bourne.
Kendrick Bourne, who's good, and they just drafted Brandon Ayuk, who's going to be very good. And they have George Kittle, the best, arguably the best tight end in football. And yeah, that's a great receiving corps. And now they just, yeah, I like it.
Now, when you look at the Eagles side of this trade, they are, again, adding a speedster. They now have 14 active wide receivers on the roster. Obviously, that's going to get trimmed down to somewhere around 6, 7 come, when you actually have to add the 53, or I believe it's a 56-man roster now with the new CBA. But again, 49ers here, you drafted a tight end to hopefully back up your star tight end in George Kittle here. And really the way I see it is you needed to offload Marquise Goodwin, and you pretty much did it. Marquise Goodwin was in trade talks for the longest time, and you eventually got it. And the way I see it, both teams sort of benefit. I don't know how good Charlie Warner is. Have not really heard much about him. I've heard about other tight ends, not him. But again, it's a win-win. And 49ers seem to have really cleared house sort of with the last 2 trades they made, getting rid of a wide receiver who was on trade block for a long time, getting rid of a running back who wanted out, and getting a star left tackle. So I like all these trades for them. And John Lynch is just very, very good at navigating the draft board and making trades to trade up and trade down. So props to him. And then we can talk about this last trade that impacts you. The Jets traded number 211, which is in the 6th round, for Quincy Wilson, the cornerback from Florida. He was drafted, I believe, in 2017. He was pretty hyped up. We were talking about before the show. You said he didn't live up to the hype. So what are your thoughts about this trade from a Colts fan narrative?
I think it was the right move, mainly because, he wasn't he wasn't cutting it for our defense whatsoever. He was getting burnt like left and right. So I think you don't want to cut him because I mean that's the worst case scenario. So great draft compensation for this pick. I'm upset that we drafted him so high in the second round. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Honestly, it's a failed move on their part because you're trading a second rounder for a sixth rounder. I've heard pretty solid things about Isaiah Rodgers, though. It's definitely a name that I remember looking about when I saw those big draft boards for people. So we'll see how that turns out for the Colts.
agreed.
So now I want to hop right into the actual draft here. We're going to hit on some big second round players here who went. First off, just jumping right into it, T. Higgins for the Cincinnati Bengals. He was drafted straight up 33rd overall. I really liked him. He was my fourth wide receiver coming out of college this year, and he's a baller. He's a great jump ball guy. Has more than enough speed, and for me, this is the AJ Green replacement. And you have AJ Green franchise tag this year. It'll really surprise me if they end up giving him a long-term contract. He's 31 almost, I believe now, and T. Higgins can really replace what you got in AJ Green.
Yeah, same thoughts for me. I think this was a great pick. And their current wide receiving core right now is Green, Tyler Boyd, and John Ross III. And then they have Auden Tate as well.
Auden Tate was good last year as well.
Yes, he was. And adding T. Higgins to the mix is perfect and completely gives Burrow the nice depth of receivers. And yeah, Higgins, I think Higgins could be the future wide receiver one for the team. No disrespect to Boyd. Boyd is also very good. But I think he's got that talent to become a wide receiver one. And yeah, he was a steal in my opinion, going into being the first pick in the second round. I thought he would go mid to late first round. Yeah, I'm great pick. I gave this grade A minus.
Yeah, I would give it a solid A as well. You're really getting a good player here. It says here AJ Green turned 30 to 32. Again, he's missed I believe the last 18 games he should have played. He hasn't played that. And really you're replacing AJ Green. This is what this move is. And you're adding depth. And we really had a run on wide receivers here, Mal. Going to your Colts right now. We had Michael Pittman Jr., the wide receiver from USC. Another big guy, 6'4", 225 almost. I really liked him. He was sure-handed. He had 4 drops, I believe, in his entire collegiate career. And you were really hyped about this pick when it happened.
Yes, I was. I did have Pittman, I believe, at like 7. I think I had him at 7, maybe just below Mims. But I mean, honestly, I'm very happy with this pick. Now looking back at film of him, I obviously am now gonna have him above Mims. But I think I initially had him quite high. He's great at blocking, great hands. Needs to work on his speed though. He needs to work on the gather up speed. He needs to work on his yards. His yak basically.
His
And
yak is all just being a big guy and throwing people off of him. I don't know if that's going to work much in the NFL because now you're actually facing, the 0.001% of the athletes versus in college where, those athletes are more spread out. You got guys who aren't going to the NFL and you can easily body them. I really like this pick for you guys. You're solidifying your wide receiver core. You have T.Y. Hilton and really, I think you have Chester Rogers, and that was the only other wide receiver I could name.
Yeah, they have right now. They have T.Y. Hilton. They have Zach Pascal, and then now this guy, Michael Pittman. Great all around. I think this is going to help Philip Rivers a lot now, and I'm very happy with this pick.
Yeah. Now moving here, we got DeAndre Swift, the running back, going to the Detroit Lions. And at first I was sort of shocked because I didn't think they'd pick a running back like second round high. They have Kerryon Johnson. They have Bo Scarborough, who's a really good power back there. But the more I thought about it, the more I liked it. Their last 100-yard rusher was Kerryon Johnson. But before that, they went like 6 full seasons, I believe it was, without having a 100-yard rusher. Now you're getting a guy who has that potential. He's great out of the backfield. and you're not going to have to ride him. And similarly, if this benefits on Johnson, he's going to get less touches, less wear and tear on his body, which has really broken down for him recently. And he's been really injured his first 2 years. Now you can split that backfield, give DeAndre Swift as many carries as he wants, give Johnson as many carries as he wants. And DeAndre Swift also catches balls out of the backfield. And that's, again, a really important part of the running back position as a whole. And I think he was your number one running back coming out. He was my number two. Pretty much, he was one of the better guys, and you needed him when you're Detroit. And hopefully they picked some really good offensive linemen later in the draft as well. And really, I hope they can break that curse of the not having a 100-yard rusher, which they already did, but improving on it.
Yeah. So DeAndre Swift, great player. I think he actually has a bit of Todd Gurley in him too, coming from the same college, UGA. But I don't see this as a need because they have Kerryon Johnson. You talked about Bo Scarborough, who actually ended up playing well towards the end of the season. Yeah, I didn't find this to be a need. That's why I didn't grade this quite high. I graded this like a C plus. But I mean, he is the best running back, I think, in this draft, or if not the best, probably top three easily. I think undisputed top three. He's great. He's got great cutback ability, and his vision is there, and he's a great power back as well. Yeah, I think, and he also played alongside some of the NFL running backs today, and Nick Chubb, who's had an amazing season last year, and Sony Michel, who's also great. And yeah, I like it.
That Georgia backfield has really been pumping out good running backs recently. And,
yep. And
they've all been good. You got Todd Gurley, you got all these guys. Like you just said, Chubb, you had the guy down in New England, Sony Michel, and now DeAndre Swift. And I think DeAndre Swift will be really good. And hopefully the Lions did bring in a couple running backs. I believe I'm forgetting who they got in, but I know they got rid of Jerick McKinnon and a few other guys, but not Jerick McKinnon. His name is something like McKinnon. I'm forgetting his name right now. But they got rid of some guys and brought in a couple other guys. DeAndre Swift is definitely going to be the head back now. You invested second-round capital in him, and he's probably the best back in that backfield. So all positive things for me for this. Now, I don't want to hit about all these picks here, but Xavier McKinney is definitely a guy worth talking about.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know where you ranked him as my safety. He was like a 1A, 1B with me, with him and Grant Delpit, who also, Grant Delpit surprisingly fell. We can hit on that later. Xavier McKinney, he plays literally every position. He's a really firm tackler. He can make all those tackles. He comes from Alabama, and they've been pumping up some pretty good safeties recently in Micah Fitzpatrick. And really, you need safety. They just lost Landon Collins last offseason, I believe. And really, their defense was suffering. Xavier McKinney, or me, I'm going to give this a solid A-. I think they might have wanted to go linebacker here, but Xavier McKinney's probably better than any linebackers you could have gotten, and you have a hole at safety. So really like this pick.
Yeah, I'm giving it an A because I think this is perfect. I think Alabama also produces great safeties a long time. They've produced many names that we know today, such as Minka Fitzpatrick, Clinton Dix, Landon Collins, Mark Barron, Eddie Jackson, and he just adds to it. I think Giants also need help as they're right now, according to Football Outsiders, they're ranked 31st in the NFL at defending the deep pass. And I think he's the right pick, right move. Also because he's versatile, and yeah, I like the pick. It's a safe pick. I think that's for sure. Can be said. And he could have been picked in the mid first round. I was also surprised that he fell this low.
This second round was really deep. It's one of the deeper ones where we had 15 to 20 guys who could have gone day one on Thursday night. They ended up falling to Friday night, which, again, that just shows you how deep this class is. And you're talking about safe picks now. I want to talk about something that wasn't safe here at all, in my opinion. Kyle Duggar ended up being the second safety off the board to the New England Patriots. from Lenore Ryan. Yes, Lenore Ryan. I literally did not know what Lenore. I don't know. I think it's in like Carolina or something. He's a really athletic guy. He pretty much mauled everyone playing with that low level school. He has that nice speed, all that. I'm going to give this a C minus though, just because I think Grant Delpit is probably a better safety. Antoine Winfield, Ashton Davis. They're all safer safeties as well. Kyle Duggar is a really risky pick for me. What say you, Amal?
Yeah, I'm giving it the same grade, C minus. But I mean, he was the best. He was D2, right?
D2, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the best D2 player in college football. But I mean, I don't know how you could even recruit this guy. This guy is like, I don't know if you saw the film on him, but he was like playing in these like football fields that are like tiny as hell. And
Yeah,
I
it looks
think
like high school, like
yeah,
football.
no, like even Stokoe's football field looks better than that. I'm like, wait, what's
Yeah.
going on? Like, all right, I mean, he went to Lenore Rhine. I've never heard of the school either. So, uh, it's good. I mean, this is a Pat's type of pick. I think they like to take risks from no-name players. Kyle Duggar is known. I think he's one of the better safeties in the draft. I think he's like top 10. Uh, but yeah, I'm surprised this high. I think they could have definitely, and they traded up for this pick too.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
They
I
traded down actually from
traded down. My bad. They
the
traded
first
down.
round.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, they traded down. Uh, I hope he does well, but I mean, I don't know. I obviously the Pats know what they're doing, and I hope they hit this one out of the park from a small school kid and Kyle Duggar. I like it. But yeah, C minus from me.
Gross Matos here, Yator from Penn State, to the Carolina Panthers. I like this move a lot, actually. He was my second edge rusher in this year's class. Ended up going early second round. He he was like a pretty solid overall guy. He was pretty good at getting to the quarterback, pretty good against the run. I don't know if he has like huge star potential, but he can definitely do everything pretty solidly well. And you need a pass rusher. You went Derek Brown first pick. Now you go Yator Gross Matos, really shoring up that defensive line. And like I've said multiple times, the best way to build your team is to build up your offensive line and build up your defensive line if you don't have a quarterback. They already have their quarterback in the future, hopefully, in Teddy Bridgewater. They also have PJ Walker. So if that doesn't work out, maybe the XFL star can pop off. Defensive line here, I really like the position, just shoring up. You need to get pressure on the opposing quarterbacks. That's how a team like the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl. How a team like this, Saxonville, the Jaguars had that really successful 2017 year. New England Patriots have done it for years, where they have no-name guys getting sacks, and that really boosts up their defensive performance. And that's what it seems that Matt Rule is doing here with the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I'm giving this pick an A minus. Great pick as well. I think Yator Gross Matos, I thought he would go late first round. I also had him as my number 2 defensive end. Great player, very agile, and he's very leverageable. And I think, like you said before, Derek Brown and Yator Gross Matos, and that defensive front is going to be something to look out for the Carolina Panthers. Yeah, I like the pick a lot.
Yeah. We can quickly talk about this one here. Ross Blacklock, you had him really high, actually. I actually liked him as well. Defensive tackle from TCU to the Houston Texans. They're pretty much replacing DJ Reader, who they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals this offseason in free agency. He was a guy really you were high on. I think he has like the size, he has the block shedding ability, he has all
Yep.
that. He can be a really strong interior defensive lineman for a team that just lost their interior defensive lineman. And it's still a pretty elite defensive line. You still have J.J. Watt down there. What say you, Amal?
Yeah, I gave this an A. I mean, you could even argue giving it an A plus. This was a great pick. Ross Blacklock, the 40, great value as well. Yep, he's got great lateral quickness, and his hands are really good. And yeah, I think the only thing that the Texans should really be worried about is the same problem that the Texans have been having on their defense all these years, and that's the injuries that they get. So Ross Blacklock is quite injury prone. He had an Achilles injury in 2018. But aside from that, this is the first time I'm going to compliment Bill O'Brien this year. Great pick, and I don't want to see him do well, but because I'm a Colts fan and Texans are the division rivals. But yeah, great pick. A grade for me.
We can talk about Jonathan Taylor here, traded up for by your I almost said the Cleveland Browns, Indianapolis Colts here. He was my best running back coming out of college this year. Two straight 2,000-yard seasons, and Wisconsin didn't really have a good passing game. Everyone knew he was running it, and he still ran it exceptionally well. Really, he has everything you want. He has that physicality, he has that burst, speed, agility, literally everything you want from a running back. And he's 200, almost 225 here. Really, this pick is sort of questionable for me because you have Marlon Mack. But when I thought about it more, you don't want to pay running backs. And Jonathan Taylor has a higher ceiling, I think, than Marlon Mack does. And even if you compare them and how them split carries this season, maybe even two seasons from now. But when it comes time for Marlon Mack to leave, you can feel comfortable that you can let him go. You're not pulling a Todd Gurley situation here where you're paying a running back too early and it busts, or a David Johnson situation here. You have a good backup plan. And honestly, Jonathan Taylor can help your team this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm giving this an A minus. I think I'll give it an A actually rather than A minus. This was a great pick. The only reason it's not A plus for me is because we do have Marlon Mack, and Marlon Mack he had his best season last year. Had over 1,000 yards rushing. That's why it wasn't necessarily the the biggest need per se. But yeah, Jonathan Taylor for me was the number 2 running back behind DeAndre Swift. But for the Colts fit purposes, I think Taylor's obviously the best fit. I think if they were to draft a running back, I'm gonna assume he'll split carries with Mack at this time, and Nyheim Hines is gonna be virtual. He'll be like a third down back, I'm assuming, at this point.
He's a good pass catcher, Nyheim Hines.
He's a good pass catcher, yeah. Kind of like a Sproles role. But yeah, I think Taylor is going to be the future running back of the Indianapolis Colts, running back 1, sole running back 1. And I think you brought up a valid point talking about how it's not worth tying up that much money into the running back position. And I know for a fact the Colts, they won't trade Marlon Mack, but I don't think they'll extend him either after this acquisition and Jonathan Taylor. I love the pick. Like you said, he had 2,000 yards rushing back-to-back seasons. He was a Heisman finalist this past year. Yeah, great upside. The only weaknesses that I really see is his ball security. He had lots of fumbles in college. But that's stuff that you could easily fix, I think. That's definitely coachable. But yeah, and he also needs to be better with his hands. I think he needs to be better at receiving the ball. But yeah, his running capability is monstrous. He also beat out all running backs in the 40 with the 4.39, which is wicked fast. So, yeah, can't wait for Jonathan Taylor to join the Colts.
Yeah, we can talk about your division rivals again. It was 3 division picks in a row. They went with Laviska Shenault, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They just cut Marquise Lee. They have DJ Chark, and you're really pairing a pretty gadgety guy, in my opinion. He was my 12th wide receiver on the board, I believe, behind Brian Edwards and KJ Hamler, notably. Really, he has, I think without the injuries, he probably would have been in my top 10. Really good, pretty good speed. He runs like Derrick Henry almost. When he runs, he's so physically gifted, where he's balling off people, just bouncing off them. I really like this pick. I think Gardner Minshew can potentially have someone to, you already have DJ Chark down there. Now you have a pretty solid wide receiver too here. I'll give this pick a solid B minus, I think, just because I think they could have gone better wide receivers. Maybe Denzel Mims, who's a more sure-handed guy. Laviska Shenault to me is a little bit more riskier. But again, you need weapons. You lost one and you drafted a weapon. So I think you could have gone elsewhere, but Laviska Shenault for me is fine. So B minus, C plus type of grade.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a B. This was a great pick, I think, out of Jacksonville. Could have been better. I think I agree. Mims would have been a better pick. I think Chenault, the main thing that he has is the yards after catch potential. I really think he's going to be a guy that can break tackles really easily. I like how you compared him to like a Derrick Henry type of runner because I completely agree with you. He is like that. Yeah, I think his hands need work, but yeah, I like him. He's they have D.D. Westbrook, I believe, too, in the wide receiver core.
Keenan Cole
Um,
as well.
Keenan Cole, yep, they just brought him back, and then now they have DJ Chark, who killed it last year as well,
1,000
and
yard receiver. Yep.
yep, and then now they just brought in Laviska Shenault, who's gonna. I hope he does well too, and I hope he doesn't get hurt, because he does have a lot of injury problems. But yeah, good pick.
We can talk about Grant Delpit here, who was arguably my number one safety on the board here. When you're the Cleveland Browns, you traded away Jabril Peppers, I think 2 off seasons ago, or 1 off season ago for Odell Beckham Jr. Now you get another versatile guy. Not as versatile. He's not as great of a tackler, but there's a reason why he won the iconic number 7 for LSU. It's because he's a pretty good football player, and he was a pretty good safety. I think 2018, his film was better than 2019. And he got so many picks that year. They stopped really throwing his direction as much. He's a very instinctual, like coverage guy. I really like what I saw from that aspect. And tackling wise, yeah, he did miss a few tackles here and there, more than probably you'd want. But really, I think his worst game was against Alabama, and specifically Najee Harris, that beast of a running back down there in Alabama, really ran all over him. Unless you have, a Derrick Henry type of guy, he's usually going to make those tackles. He's not like terrible at that. Definitely something he needs to work on, but I really didn't think he'd fall here. So I'll give this a solid like A- type of grade, just because really great value for a guy who probably shouldn't have fallen here. And he needed a safety. I believe you also lost Demarius Randall. I think you traded him away or he walked this offseason. Grant Delpit can, really replace those lost safeties you had back there.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a B, maybe even B minus, because my only problem with Grant Delpit is his tackling capability, and the Browns need someone that can tackle at safety. And he's not like necessarily the best per se, because he had an ankle injury in 2019, and he played through it, and it showed because in the bowl games he wasn't. I think you talked about a couple highlights. He did do pretty well, but I think he's missing a lot of. I see him miss a couple tackles, a good amount of time. Uh, yeah, and I think the Browns. Yeah, I believe they have the league high of missed tackles last year, and that's the only reason I'm giving it a B. But Grant Delpit's a great safety. I think I had him as my number 3 safety in this draft. Great. He's very aggressive. I like his play style. Um, but yeah, he could. I think he has Pro Bowl potential. So yeah, I like the pick still.
Yeah, it's a solid pick for me. We
Yeah, the
can
next. Yeah, I think the
Antoine
Bucks.
Winfield.
Yeah, this Bucks pick. I think this is a perfect fit once again for the Tom Brady project. Uh, I I'm gonna give this an A plus. This is a perfect pick. You cannot criticize this pick. Uh, I don't even see the only weakness I could see is maybe the size in Antoine Winfield. Steal again at 45. These guys are keep on getting the steals of the draft, and that Bucks defense is now scary, and
Yeah,
they are now
they needed
climbing up
help
in that
pass
position.
coverage wise, and Antoine Winfield really offers that for you. He's the son. His dad played defensive back, I believe, in the late 1990s. I think it was. He's a ball hawk. He had tons of interceptions. He did have some injury issues, so that is something worth looking after. But really, Antoine Winfield, when it comes down to it, he's going to play that free safety role, and he's going to play it really well for you. And you need that when you're a team that has a struggling pass defense. Honestly, really positive outlook for me here. I'll give this B plus A type of grade where I really like what you're doing, shoring up that defensive backfield when, it's something you've been missing.
Yeah. I'm gonna talk about KJ Hamler really quickly. This was pick by the Miami Dolphins. This was a
Denver
reach
Broncos,
pick,
actually.
Yeah, my bad. Denver Broncos. Yeah, this was a reach pick, especially because they just got Judy. That's why I think it was a reach pick. And they have Cortland Sutton already. They have Deshaun Hamilton. Yeah, I think after Judy, I don't know if you needed necessarily another receiver again. I'm gonna give this grade a C. That's why I just wanted to really quickly talk about it. I don't know if you have anything to add about that.
I really wanted to talk about this because I really like this move. I don't really know if I can put like a grade on it per se, but I think Drew Lock should be really happy what he's getting as an offense. The fact is, you have Deshaun Hamilton coming off the bench, and he's a pretty, dependable guy. He hasn't really done much in the pros, but at the college level, at least from Penn State as well, he was really good at college level. If you have him as your fourth guy, you should be happy. You have Noah Fant there. You got KJ Hamler, who's a game breaker speed wise, best route runner in this draft, really physical guy, and Cortland Sutton as well. Those three on the outside plus Noah Fant, I really like this offense. Drew Lock should be, overjoyed. And unlike a team like, Aaron Rodgers, where I don't think they still have picked a wide receiver. You can check on me for that because we started on half a round left in the fourth round before we jumped into this podcast. But really, Drew Lock, what the Broncos did for Drew Lock is what the Packers should have done for Aaron Rodgers. And if I'm a young quarterback, I am overjoyed that he has a pretty big arm. And KJ Hamler is a guy who you can't really underthrow. So I really like this. I'm going to give this a B plus in my opinion. I like what they're doing. Yes, they might have had needs elsewhere, but you're stacking up a really good offensive team potentially for a young quarterback. And that's how you build your offense.
They're trying to build like a Chiefs-like offense with stacking up the receiving core. Not a bad idea. Really quickly, I also want to talk about Marlon Davidson to the Falcons. Also a great pick. I thought this was a perfect fit and a perfect need also for the Falcons. And this he's pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie. I think he's a 300-pounder, pound dude. And he's gonna line up next to Grady Jarrett on that Falcons D line, and that's gonna be scary to see two defensive tackles just ramming through these offensive linemen. I'm gonna give that also an A plus. That was a great pick.
Yeah, I like what I saw from him. I saw a quick story time for him. I saw a video about him during his, I think it was his pro day or the combine or whatever it was, Senior Bowl maybe. And he gave an interview and he was like, they were like, what's your favorite thing about the game? And he was like, what I really like about this game is I can physically assault people and I'm not going to go to jail. I'm not going to spend the night.
I remember that. Yeah.
That just speaks to the type of guy he is. I think he's going to fit the Atlanta mentality well. And that shows the type of player he is. He's a really physical guy. So I like this pick from that type of aspect. And again, he pairs up with Grady Jarrett pretty well. So yeah. We can talk about Chase Claypool here, a guy who I really hated coming out. I think he does not play his speed at all. But I'm willing to take the L here a little bit because if a team like the Steelers, who have been exceptionally gifted when it comes to getting wideouts, they have Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster. They developed a sixth-round pick by the name of Antonio Brown into a superstar. Really, I don't know. I don't like the player, but if the Steelers saw something that I didn't, then I will give the benefit of the doubt to them.
I'm the same way. I saw a bit of potential in Chase Claypool. Yeah, he's got great hands. And he's got good speed. He's not very quick though, in my opinion. But he's really good at blocking. This is a type of pick though. I don't know if they necessarily needed because they already have James Washington, they have Deontay Johnson, they have Juju Smith-Schuster. So I don't know if this is a need per se, but I mean overall I'm okay with this pick. I'll give it a B minus. I mean it's not a great pick, but it's not a bad pick either.
I'll give it a C minus just because again I don't like Chase Claypool. I would have given it like a D minus, but I'm just going to defer a little bit to your wide receivers there. We can talk
Jalen
about
Johnson.
Jalen
I,
Johnson, sure.
Jalen Johnson was a great pick too for the Bears. They need a corner. I think this was a great fit. Um, I mean, he's also, in my opinion, he's one of the best corners in this draft. Uh, he's got great vision. And I give this one an A. This was a great pick for the Bears, unlike their first selection with Cole Kmet.
Yeah, they let Prince Amukamara go, as it says right here. And really, they have Kyle Fuller. He's a pretty good corner as well. I think he was an all-pro maybe 1 or 2 seasons ago, I believe. Now you can solidify that other spot. I'm giving it a solid B type of pick here. We can
Yeah.
move on here to Trevon Diggs. I'm going to give this pick, I'm going to give it a B+. Yes, it's my division rival team, but they needed a corner. They lost Byron Jones. And really, Trevon Diggs has all the athletic measurables. It just, technicality-wise, does he have the technique to do all, the things you need to do to be successful? Really, they've been pretty solid at developing corners there. Chidobe Awuzie was always a pretty solid guy for them, number 2. I don't have much to complain. Again, Alabama has had some good defensive players, and Trevon Diggs has all the athletic measurables to be a good one.
Yeah, I'm giving this one an A+ again because I think this is a player they could have easily targeted at 17, and he fell at 51, which is unbelievable. They haven't needed a corner because they lost Byron Jones. Yeah, he's NFL ready considering the program that Alabama has all around. Actually, Alabama's football program is insane. Yeah, great pick, A+. I mean, I hate to say it, but A+.
We can talk about the Todd Gurley replacement here in Cam Akers from Florida State. Cam Akers was one of the most complete backs that I saw. I really liked what I saw from him. He has everything you want, really good size. Again, he's a pretty big guy here at almost 220 pounds. I don't know if he can fully step into the Todd Gurley role immediately, but the fact is your offense with Todd Gurley in 2018 and without him in 2019, or without a healthy Todd Gurley, huge difference. They went from, everyone heralding Sean McVay as a savior to no one even talking about the Sean McVay offense anymore. And I think the biggest part of that was, not having Todd Gurley. And Cam Akers, I don't know if he has that Todd Gurley ceiling to him, but he can bring some good stability, and I think he definitely can be a good player to, help revitalize that ailing offense.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's very quick too. I looked at his film. He's great. I think the only problem I have with him is he's too small. Other than that, he's a great player. I'm gonna give this a C though because I don't know if this was necessarily the right player to replace the big hole in Todd Gurley. That's all.
Who do you prefer they gone? Because I think Jonathan Taylor would really replace him. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor was gone by now, but Jonathan
I
Taylor, in
thought
my mind, would have been the perfect guy.
they could have used J.K. Dobbins.
Okay.
That's my
he's
opinion.
more of a quicker guy, I think, right, than Cam Akers.
Yeah. That I think that's probably the only player I would probably use to replace him. Or I thought they should have traded up, considering that is a major need because I think Darrell Henderson is their current running back 1, and I don't trust that guy at all. So
we can move on to the worst pick in the first round. I really like Jalen Hurts.
Second round.
Yeah, second round. Jalen Hurts to the Philadelphia Eagles, my Philadelphia Eagles. So my only problem is I really hate this from both perspectives because you had, good players on the board. Could have potentially drafted A.J. Epinesa, Van Jefferson, Denzel Mims, Christian Fulton, old guys who would fit more of a pressing need. Instead, you spend a second-round pick on a backup quarterback who has potentially Taysom Hill-like potential. But when you're looking at this from Jalen Hurts' perspective, he doesn't know what he's doing here. He's already said that. Howie Roseman hasn't told him. Doug Peterson, he doesn't know what his role is going to be for this team. He's not going to replace Carson Wentz. Everyone knows that. So I don't really know. Backup quarterback in the second round doesn't make sense to me. Taysom Hill type of gadget player in the second round doesn't really make sense to me, even though you can make an argument that Taysom Hill was one of the better players on that offense for that team, especially in like clutch games, like the games that mattered. like the Vikings playoff game where he caught a touchdown, threw a touchdown, ran for some yards. He did everything you wanted him to do. He has that explosive element. Doug Peterson did talk about Taysom Hill when he during the press conference when he talked about this pick, Jalen Hurts. I'm going to give this a D plus. I'm I will. I think he's a trade candidate. Lots of people were saying. I think this might just be another way of justifying it. Corona is here. College football will never not come. Jalen Hurts can end up being one of the better guys, maybe after Trevor Lawrence, more sure prospect for 2021, and you can maybe bundle him and get a first-round pick. Again, this is the team that managed to trade Sam Bradford away for a first-round pick to the Minnesota Vikings. I will default to Howie Roseman, even though I really dislike this pick. The rest of his draft I really like the rest of his draft. I would default to Howie Roseman here. I don't like the pick. Really like the guy as the locker room guy. I think he's a great guy. From the Jalen Hurts perspective, I hate this pick because, he's a backup now and he's really earned a right to start somewhere. And he's not going to get that unless, God forbid, something happens to Carson Wentz or, some sort of gadget, maybe 2 quarterback type of plays. What say you, Amal, from an outside perspective and no bias?
I'm gonna defer to you for this opinion. I'm not gonna agree or disagree with either of your points. All I'm gonna say is he's a player with a lot of potential in this league. I think he's Lamar Jackson-esque. I think he'll one day, even though he's a backup now, one day he'll find the right team for him to be a true quarterback one. And it could be the Eagles. You never know. But I'm just saying, one day he's going to be a great player in this league and Pro Bowl potential. I think he'll reach that potential and reach his peak capability of playing. I really like the yeah.
My problem with this though, again, is when you look at what talks in the NFL, it's money and it's draft capital, and the Eagles have 2 separate things. Again, I mean, Carson Wentz was a first rounder and he gave up a ton of draft capital. But as of right now, you have all the money invested in Carson Wentz, and then you spend a second-round pick on a quarterback. It's just very conflicting. I'm confused. I hated this pick way more yesterday. Now I'm just like, you know what? The rest of our draft is pretty solid. What the hell, man? It is what it is.
I think
any other guys?
we can move. Yeah, we.
Any other guys you want to
because
talk about?
AJ Epineza was a great pick as well from the Panthers. Great second-round player. Now the Bills have a legit D-line, which is quite scary considering the Bills have just added Stephon Diggs on offense. And now their offense looks very solidified. I'm assuming Devin Singletary is going to be a lot better than he was last year. And Josh Allen's going to come for vengeance after losing to the Texans last year in the wild card round. And AJ Epineza, he's a great player. I'm expecting the Bills to win the division, and they could even be contending to get the bye spot for this conference in the AFC. That was a great pick. Another great pick I think was Denzel Mims out of the Jets. For the Jets,
he fell like really far. Like,
I think
that was
probably the DK. That's probably the DK Metcalf type of pick, in the aspect of he's got high risk, high reward. I love Denzel Mims. I was high on DK Metcalf last year, and he fell. And DK Metcalf clearly proved that he was one of the better receivers in that draft class. And Denzel Mims, I'm hoping will do the same with Sam Darnold at quarterback. This was a great pick. I gave that grade an A.
Denzel Mims, for me, he was my 5th ranked wide receiver, ahead of Justin Jefferson, just below the top 3, and T. Higgins for me. He's like the quintessential guy who always ends up falling, and he ends up being a stud. Look at like Michael Thomas. He was like a 2nd-round pick. You have DK Metcalf last season. Every year you get like a wide receiver who shouldn't have fallen, and they ended up falling, and people regretted, not taking them. He's going to really pop off, I feel like, for the New York Jets. Really physical guy. Really, he has elite catch radius. When you look at, the crazy amount of catches he made that were like bad throws, and he still comes down with it. Sam Darnold's really going to benefit. They needed a wide receiver. They really don't have anyone anymore at all. Quincy Nunez injured. They lost Robbie Anderson to the Panthers. Denzel Mims can really hopefully be that wide receiver one for that team that has been struggling to find a wide receiver one.
Yeah. Other players that I want to talk about really quickly. Christian Fulton, another player I thought could have gone late first round, went late second round. Great value for the Tennessee Titans. Sadly, it was the Tennessee Titans. He's got great size and athleticism. I gave the grade an A-. Perfect fit in my opinion.
He's a really good man cover corner. So when you look at him, you can put him in that man. He might fill in the role that I don't think Logan Ryan is going to come back right now, or it's going to be a question to see if he comes back or not. Christian Fulton can really probably step into that slot position, and hopefully he can do the things you need him to do, cover those shiftier guys. And I think he has the physical abilities to do that. He had tons of pass deflections in college. Again, really like this pick. It's one of the more underrated picks here.
Yeah, and going back to the Packers, I don't know what the Packers are doing here. They selected A.J. Dillon out of Boston College. Awful pick, in my opinion. This is honestly on the same level as Bill O'Brien grade. I'm not going to give it that low. I'll give it a D-. This is, I mean, it's not a need. They have Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones was, in terms of fantasy football, he was a monster. He was probably top 5 running back if it came to fantasy football. But, I mean, in general, he was a great player for the Green Bay Packers last year. And when Jones was down, Williams picked up his slack, and he killed it as well. Absolutely not a need, and I'm ashamed of the Packers right now. And, yeah, this is a D- grade. And if I were Aaron Rodgers, I'd be pissed.
If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I would be pissed because of this move. But when you're looking at it, I would hated this pick first off, but now the more I think about it, I'm going to use the same generalization that I gave for the Jonathan Taylor pick, where you picked Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams in the same exact draft. Both of them are coming to contract years. You're not going to pay both of them. A.J. Dillon is a really good guy. He had some nice top end speed. He wasn't really, I think, exceptionally quick, and he wasn't really a good receiver, so he can probably fill that Aaron Jones void where Aaron Jones, if they let Aaron Jones go, he can probably fill that void. He's a chunky guy. You can see him here, 247 pounds listed here according to ESPN.
The thing is, if you're gonna replace one of the two, you could replace him next year. Next year's draft class for running backs is probably, in my opinion, even better than this year's. So I mean, I don't know why you'd replace now than later, because both backs are still on the team. I don't think it's a need right now. That's all I'm trying to say.
I would give it a C+ just because, again, wide receiver was a way bigger need. But just generalizing it, I think there's ways you could definitely do that.
Fair enough.
We can move on to the third round here.
I just want to talk about one last pick. This is the last pick, second round. Jeremy Chin out of Southern Illinois, also one of my top safeties I had in this draft class. Great player. And actually, fun fact, his uncle was another great legendary safety, Steve Atwater. He was really good at the combine. Chin was probably one of the best players at the combine. He had a 4.45 40 and had a 41-inch vertical, which is nuts. And he had a 138 inch broad jump, and his measurables are great at 6'3", 221. Great player. I love the pick for Carolina here.
He's similar to Kyle Duggar as well, where they're both smaller school guys who really were exceptionally well at what they did. The reason I docked the Kyle Duggar move is because you had way safer safeties here, but Jeremy Chin I think he has less risk than Kyle Duggar, and also those elite guys were gone now, other than maybe Ashton Davis from Cal, who in the third round we can talk about where he goes later, but he was a steal. But you lost Eric Reed, I believe, when you're the Panthers, and you need a new versatile safety, and safety is a really important position for that defense. Jeremy Chin can really offer that for you.
Yeah. Now we can move on to the third round. My first pick here is Bengals. Bengals had a great pick, in my opinion, here at Logan Wilson. Great linebacker. I did watch his film, too, because I did want to go through my top 10s in each position. Logan Wilson, great athleticism here. And the Bengals needed a linebacker, point blank, period. And I think he was the best, one of the best, I should say, linebackers available. I gave it an A. A grade. I like that pick.
Linebacker was their biggest need, like 100%. Bigger than quarterback, bigger than wide receiver, bigger than anything. And I really like the value of Logan Wilson, who was I think he was a top 5 linebacker for me out of Wyoming. When you look at their linebacker core, they lost Vontez Burfict, which is a positive, obviously, because you don't want that not case being on your team. But Jermaine Pratt was a 29th and third rounder, and he ended up being a starter for most of the year. And the fact is, they don't have a linebacker outside of Jermaine Pratt who played more than, I think, 8% of the snaps. So you need a guy who you can trust, and you get that in Logan Wilson. So really like this pick. I was about to skip over it, so thanks for reminding me about that.
Yeah, even the next pick I thought was also a great pick. The
Antonio
Redskins
Gibson.
selecting Antonio Gibson. He can play both running back and receiver, which is a great plus. Yeah, he killed it at SMU. I don't know if you looked at him, and his 40 time was also great. Also tied with Taylor for one of the fastest 40s as a running back with 4.39. His athleticism, I hope, will translate in the NFL. I think he could end up being like a guy like Deebo Samuel. Yeah, I think he's also a great replacement for Chris Thompson.
Yeah, he's, in my opinion, he's more of a running back. But the way you look at it, he's an offensive weapon for that team that has Terry McLaurin. And like you said, I think they're going to end up using him a lot like Deebo Samuel. He has the ability to be a really good running back, but he also has the ability to be a good pass catcher. Honestly, I like this move for them. Just add an offensive weapon for that team that needs an offensive weapon. And that's what you're getting here at Antonio Gibson.
Yep.
Now, we can move on here to the Jets have had a really good draft, in my opinion. Unless maybe they should have skipping over a wide receiver and going Mekhi Becton. That was also the safer pick here. Denzel Mims in the second round, really good wide receiver. Now they go defense here in Ashton Davis, who was my sleeper safety. I thought he would have gone in the second round. Honestly, the way I see it, his coverage ability was really good. Honestly, you might end up playing him at slot corner because that's the type of guy he can be. He can play that man-on-man cover if you cover corner if you need him to be a corner. He can also be that good safety, free safety, where he can come down and make some really nice tackles here and there. He can make some picks. He can do everything you want him to do. Ashton Davis here, early third round, is a steal, in my opinion.
I'm actually not a fan of this pick, and this is probably actually one of my least favorite picks in the third round. And the reason is because they have already 2 great safeties at need. They have in place. They have Jamal Adams, who's all-world, great safety, and they have Marcus May too, who's also great at safety. And they're picking this high at the third round. I'm pretty sure that's assuming then that Jamal Adams, I'm assuming, will one day get dealt. And if that's the case, I don't know if they should have drafted a safety, in my opinion, earlier. Yeah, in terms of value, I could definitely see where you're coming from, because Ashton Davis is a great safety. But yeah, I wasn't really a fan of the pick. I'm giving it like a D- actually. I'm not a fan at all of the pick. But it was great player, but not a fan of the team that's selected.
Yeah. We move on here to Josh Jones, and then go back if you want to talk about any other guys.
I want to talk about Justin Madubuike for
the
sure. Ravens. Another steal, in my opinion. I thought he has first-round talent. I think he just needs to be a little bit more explosive. Otherwise, he would have been in the first round for sure. And now another defensive tackle. Now that D-line is stacked with Calais Campbell there. I love the pick here. I gave it an A. Great pick there for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, he was a guy on film where I watched, and he was always like being a disruptor, and you need a disruptor. And really, when you look at the Ravens, what they added in Calais Campbell, they just needed some defensive line help there, I feel like. And they got that really well, I think, in Justin Madubuike from Texas A&M.
Yeah, and the next pick, the Cardinals got Josh Jones. Great pick here. I thought he would go for end of first round, late to end of first round. Steal in the third round. That's unbelievable that he was there in the third round. This is an A+ grade for me, especially since it's the Arizona Cardinals, who basically don't have an offensive line. Kyler Murray is now being protected by a first-round talent once again in Josh Jones. He's a monster. I like it. Great
And
pick.
for me, this makes me like the Isaiah Simmons pick even more. The fact is, they got a guy like Josh Jones who, if he could have gone in like the late first round. You're getting like that potential like first round type of talent at tackle, while also getting a Tyrann Mathieu clone essentially. So I was kind of lower on the Isaiah Simmons like fit, but because I felt you could have gone tackle and that would fit a more pressing need. But they had a bad defense. Isaiah Simmons could potentially help fix that bad defense. And now they have a bad offensive line, and they can potentially help fix that bad offensive line. So really like what I'm seeing here from the Arizona Cardinals and their draft overall. Cliff Kingsbury in that fancy draft room really be living up to the hype, in my opinion.
Yep. And next, I also want to talk about the New Orleans Saints pick here.
They
Uh,
traded up for him.
yep. I don't know if you have anything else before. I don't know if you
No.
want to talk about Jacksonville. Yeah, the Zach Bond pick was a great pick, unbelievable pick. He should have been first round for sure. I for sure thought he would go first round. And he went to the third round, and Saints stole him at the third round. Because I mean, the Saints could have arguably drafted him first round, and they got him third. Zach Bond had 12 and a half sacks for Wisconsin last year. Great pick for the Saints, and this is an A-plus pick for me. And yeah, Durf definitely helps them.
Yeah, he's a good like 3-4 outside linebacker. I feel like he doesn't really have that size here. He's listed at 238, which isn't like ideal pass rusher sort of size. But when you look at what he did, he went out and passing downs, rushed the passer. He also went out and he'd had some coverage ability as well. So I really like this versatile type of defender that you get here in
Yeah,
Zach Bond.
yep. I also want to talk about the next three picks as well. They were all great picks, I think. The Detroit Lions selecting Jonah Jackson out of Ohio State. That was another great pick, in my opinion. The Lions are in need of a guard, and he's got great potential here. And overall, that was another great pick. He's got great lateral quickness. He's probably, in my opinion, one of the best guards in the draft, probably in my top 10, I think. Maybe top 5, actually. I'm quite high on Jonah Jackson out of Ohio State. Great pick there. I don't know if you have anything else to add about that.
Nope. We can move on to Keyshawn Vaughn here. I think that's what you
Yeah,
want to
this
talk
was
about, right?
another great pick because Brady gets his running back now. And I think he's going to be the new running back one because I don't think Peyton Barber and Ronald Jones the third is the answer. He was a really good running back for Vanderbilt last year, and he's also good at receiving. He's a great receiving back as well. Yeah, I think I looked up online. His comparison is kind of similar to Chris Carson, and he's great in the NFL right now. This was a great pick, and Tom Brady now has his running back, great offensive line, great defensive help. You can't ask for anything better right now if you're Tom Brady, for sure.
Yeah, nothing much more to say there. They needed a running back and they got one.
Yep.
Do you
And
want to talk about him, Michael Ojomi? I can't say his name.
yeah, last one for me is Michael Ojemudia. That's a great corner for Iowa. Another great player that I thought was on the board. They needed a corner after Chris Harris Jr. left. They picked back-to-back receivers in the first 2 rounds. Corner was a needy position. I think this man will slide right into Chris Harris Jr.'s spot, and that's why I'm a fan of this pick as well. And yeah, lastly, at pick 79, Jabari Zuniga. I think we talked about him earlier. He's on the
He has like
Jaguars.
a really high ceiling, man. Like he
Yeah,
could.
he's got a really high ceiling. Yeah.
I
I think
believe the
he's
Jets ended up picking. I'm forgetting who they picked last year, but he was a clear bust. They ended up cutting him. Now they can go out here and potentially draft. The guy they wanted to draft pretty much when they drafted. I'm forgetting his name again. He was a guy. He was a first round guy who ended up falling. His really bad the combine or whatever it was. Jabari Zuniga can end up replacing him really well. He is, like I said, really high ceiling, and you need pass rushing help here when you're the Jets. 23rd ranked in sacks, and 25 sacks is not acceptable for an NFL defense, and especially when you have Greg Williams. He likes getting to the passer. And you weren't doing that, and Jabari Zuniga can definitely help you fix that issue.
Yeah. The next pick I think I want to
Next
talk
two picks, actually, too. Lynn Bowden and Brian Edwards.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the Lynn Bowden pick?
He was a gadget guy, so I prefer the Brian Edwards pick, but Lynn Bowden he has that speed. He's the one type of guy where he could like score no matter, like he can throw a touchdown, he can catch a touchdown, he can, run for a touchdown, he can return a kick or a punt for a touchdown. He can really score like any way. He's not like an elite type of guy, like quickness wise or anything, or fast. I don't think he's like extremely fast. I don't think he's like an elite wide receiver, but he could be really that ultimate gadget guy where he can do everything you want him to do. And when you look at Brian Edwards, he suffered from injury and really bad quarterback play. I really was frustrated watching his quarterback down there in South Carolina. And he gets Derek Carr, who is, a really solid quarterback for them. They needed wide receiver help, and they went and drafted 4 guys in the top 3 rounds. So I like what they're doing here. They're really trying to, commit to Derek Carr, and it's what you wanted to see the Packers do, again, bringing it back to them. But Brian Edwards here, really like what I saw from him. Physical guy, good, catch radius and all of that.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't like Lynn Bowden's spot though. I didn't like how he went so high. I thought third round is a bit too high. There were better receivers there in the third round. Such as Donovan Peoples-Jones.
He ended up going in the 7th, I believe, or 6th.
Yeah, that's an unbelievable steal. But yeah, I think Lynn Bowden too high. He could have gone in the 6th, in my opinion. Lynn Bowden. I don't think many teams were that high on him. He's basically Taysom Hill. He can do whatever you want. Another guy, Brian Edwards. I was high on him. I think I had him in my top like 15, maybe at like 12 or 10. Great receiver here. He could be. He's a nice pair alongside Hunter Renfrow and Tyrell Williams. I like the picks here.
Henry Ruggs as well. I think he complements that speed you got with that nice, short, reliable, good catch radius type of guy. So I like what you're doing there.
Yeah, I want to talk about Neville Gallimore.
Yeah, sure.
Cowboys, great pick here. I keep on hating how these Cowboys are making good picks here. This was an excellent pick, I think. He had a great combine as well, Neville Gallimore. He was a great. I don't know if you saw him at Oklahoma. This was one of the standout defensive players in Oklahoma. Doesn't make any sense because Oklahoma has a non-existent defense. But yeah, I think this will definitely help the Cowboys, considering now they have an insane defensive line with Gerald McCoy and Dontari Poe down there. He will definitely help
stacking
them
up that interior defensive line, which is scary. I think their edge rushers still could use some work, but really that interior defensive line and DeMarcus Lawrence is more than enough to be, manhandling some teams here and there.
Yeah. I want to talk about Denver Broncos getting Lloyd Cushenberry III. He was also a great player that was picked. I think they needed a center as well. I think that's the main reason I would want to talk to him. He's basically a starting center in the league. I'm surprised he also fell to the 3rd round. I thought he'd go early to mid-2nd round.
He was a guy in the Senior Bowl. He was the only guy who held his own against Javon Kinlaw, and he ended up going in the top 14 picks. Lloyd Cushenberry, I'm surprised. I thought he was maybe a late first-round guy, like, his ceiling. He was definitely like a second-round guy lock. He ended up going like late 3rd round. Don't know why that happened. You needed to solidify your offensive line. I like this pick a lot for a team like the Denver Broncos. Again, really helping Drew Lock out with wide receivers and now offensive line help.
Yeah, I'm going to talk probably all the way up to the Bills pick. The Rams here, they got Terrell Lewis out of Alabama in the 3rd round. That was also a great pick because they lost Clay Matthews and Dante Fowler Jr. They basically only have Aaron Donald, and now they got back Michael Brockers. They needed an edge rusher, and Terrell Lewis was great for Alabama. He is quite injury prone though because he missed a couple seasons because of an elbow injury and a torn ACL. But he had a really good Senior Bowl. I don't know if you saw him there.
And he stood out to me.
Huh? Yeah,
he
he did
stood
say,
out to me. Similar
yeah,
to like Jabari Zuniga, where he has like an endless, ceiling, but he's riskier, obviously, with the injuries. I really like what I saw from him. He is really athletic. His athletic profile for that defensive end position is really good. And honestly, when again, like you were saying, they lost guys like Clay Matthews. You need to pair up someone on that defensive line, and I believe you run a 3-4 when you're the the Rams, but
yep,
yeah, and I think he's a really good 3-4 outside linebacker. And if you want, you can pretty much purely put him on on the line and have him be that consistent edge rusher. And I think he can do that pretty well.
yeah. And then I'm gonna talk about my Indianapolis Colts, who selected Julian Blackman, safety out of Utah. This was a reach pick for me. They could have definitely gotten him in the later rounds, but I've been told that the Colts wanted to pick him earlier. He even told the prospect Blackman himself that don't be surprised if we take you earlier, because Blackman was expecting probably a day 3 type of pick for him. This was a great pick. I think obviously overpicked, but I think he's got great potential. Yeah, he's a great
What do
free
you think
safety.
this means for Malik Hooker, though?
I mean, I heard they were aggressively trying to trade him, and clearly they didn't trade him this draft. I thought he would have gotten traded. They were really trying to trade him, and I guess he's staying for now. I'm definitely expecting Hooker to get traded before the trade deadline.
Okay,
And
some
this is a great
insight.
replacement, I think, for Malik Hooker. Or Clayton Gathers, I think he could also replace him as well. Yeah, great pick, I think, overall, though, for the Colts. Just too early for me. And then
Zach Moss is a guy I really want to
lastly,
talk
Zach
about.
Moss.
You're
Yeah,
pairing up Devin Singletary, who I'm a big Devin Singletary believer. I think he's like a LaShawn McCoy clone. Here you guys,
I'm a big fan of Zach Moss, though. Zach
I
Moss,
think
I
you
don't know
got
if
a
you've
really
gone.
good 1-2 punch here with what you
Yeah,
get
this
in.
guy reminds me of like Eddie Lacy, a really big back. I mean, I really am a fan of him. I mean, I could say beast mode. That also works too, considering beast mode also played for the Bills for some time. Uh, yeah, great. I mean, he had a really slow 40 for me, but he explained that it was because of his hamstring injury that he had prior to the combine, and he also had a knee injury in 2018. But yeah, his comparisons look really good in Arian Foster, Marshawn Lynch, Eddie Lacy. I like this play. I like this spot. And it's a great fit to complement Devin Singletary here. Great
Yeah,
pick.
I think this definitely hinders Devin Singletary's ceiling. But when you're looking at team success, so like fantasy wise, I don't think it's good for either of them. But when you're looking at team success, Zach Moss plus Devin Singletary, that pairing can really open up the running game. You got nice speed, nice elusiveness, nice power, everything you want in between those two guys. So I like the pick. I guess I think I would have probably preferred them going somewhere else, but uh, not handing the keys to Devin Singletary isn't a bad thing. So we can
Yeah.
look here.
I'm at 90 with the Texans with
Okay.
Jonathan Greenard. I don't know if you want to talk about anyone
Um,
between 86 and 90.
I'd really like the Cameron Dantzler pick. I don't really want to go deep into it. He was the guy I thought would go in the second round, and you're getting him here in the third round. So good corner. Again, you needed cornerback help, and you got it with the guy from TCU, Jeff Gladney, and Cameron
Yep.
Dantzler.
Yeah, great. I agree with you. That was also a great pick. I also noted that down. Jonathan Greenard for another edge that we talked. They picked an edge in the second round, and now they're picking an edge here in the third round. Great pick. He's got a lot of upside. He also did. I also really liked him in the Senior Bowl as well. I don't know if you actually saw his play on Justin Herbert. It was like scary. But yeah, I'm a fan of Jonathan Greenard here. Great pick from the Houston Texans.
Yeah. I think just looking at this, the last pick I really want to talk about here is Lucas Nying to the.
Yep, I'm the same way. I'm the same way here, I think.
He's again a borderline first round, early second type of tackle, similar to the guy who also fell. The other tackle we had falling. What was his name? Well, Lloyd Cushenberry, a guy who fell Again, similar to that, we have another tackle falling really high out of the first round. Lucas Nying, I don't know how he fits well because I feel like they have really good tackles already. But again, when you look at their contract situations, which is what I looked at right after this pick happened, both these guys are only signed for the next 2 seasons pretty much. So, you might end up cutting one of them early or whatever it is, trading them, whatever it might be. Lucas Nying was really solid, really good guy for that TCU offensive line. Honestly, really like this pick for them. I don't
Yeah.
think I think it wasn't really fitting a big need. But again, like I've said multiple times, this podcast and multiple podcasts before, smart teams build up the lines. And if you're building up your line, honestly, I can't complain. If someone gets injured, you have a guy to step up right there. The worst thing you want is having an injured offensive line. And the minute someone goes down, you're essentially screwed. Lucas Nying keeps you from being screwed. So I'm not really high on like that side of it, but overall, it's a good pick, I feel.
Yeah. For me, I'm now at pick 102 here. That's the next pick that stands out to me. Alex Highsmith out of Charlotte. He's got a great intangibles. I see. He's had a lot of great standout games. I mean, he's playing it from a small school in Charlotte. But I think he's got a lot of high upside, and Steelers, they're not necessarily in need for edge, but it's a great, they can definitely develop him into becoming a future starter one day. And I like that pick. And another pick is your Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know if you want to talk more about that. And Davion Taylor.
Yeah, Davion Taylor, he's, again, similar to like a Nate Gary type who we drafted in 2017, I believe. Another type of linebacker safety type of hybrid. He's really fast. I think his tackling could potentially use some work. Again, he's more of a slash and dash type of guy, less power, but I think he's a really potential, sideline to sideline type of linebacker. And we also drafted another linebacker from Stanford. I really like what Howie Roseman did other than that second round pick. Really, the rest of his draft was really good. Filled some wide receiver needs, got Marquise Goodwin, got some linebacker needs, safety, everything. He really hit everything except maybe defensive line, but he also drafted an edge rusher from Stanford. So overall, Davion Taylor, I like him. His name is also Jalen Taylor. So really helped fix that Jalen trend that was going for the first 3 rounds here. Davion Taylor,
Yeah.
speedster, edge, sideline to sideline type of linebacker, pretty decent ceiling. And we needed linebackers. We lost Nigel Bradham. We lost Kamu Grugier-Hill. And Nate Gary was solid. Honestly, really like this pick for the type of guy we're getting in Davion Taylor.
Yep. And
round.
my last one would be in this entire round would be Adam Trotman, tight end out of Dayton for the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are in need of a tight end. That's why I like this pick for them. And in my honest opinion, he reminds me a lot of Dallas Goedert. That's why I like this pick. Yeah, they're in need, and I think he's got great receiving skills. Yeah, that's why I'm a fan of this pick.
Yeah, if you look at like the Saints offense, when they lost tight end Jared Cook, I believe it was against the 49ers in that, the best game of the year, potentially, their offense really took a dip a little bit. And again, that's crazy because they scored like 40 something points, but their offense went from, scoring every single possession to being slightly less efficient. Jared Cook was really a guy you want there. And again, he's an older guy. Now you got a guy who can potentially develop under him. And again, Jared Cook is 33. Jared Troutman is literally like 22, probably, I'd assume, 21, whatever it may be. You're replacing a position of need in the future. And again, they're a good team. They needed to develop someone at tight end. And I think Sean Payton's such a creative guy. You see what he's done with Taysom Hill. And again, Jared Cook was a guy they depended on. Adam Troutman is another guy you could potentially depend on in the future. So like this pick, I give it a solid C+, B- type of grade. Any other guys you want to talk about them all? We can wrap it up right now if you want.
We can. We can talk about a little bit into day 3, or we could do that in a separate podcast. Up to you.
I think I'd like to keep that in the second separate podcast, just because there's a lot of sleeper guys we can talk about. Any other guys though in day 2 you want to talk about?
No, I think we covered all the guys in day 2 that were really important, that really stood out to me as a really good home run picks, I think.
Yeah, we covered 45 guys. So 45 guys in the second and third round that we really liked. So yeah, we can stop right here. Thanks for listening, you guys, watching all that fun stuff. Share this, give it likes, do all that, whatever you want. Really bad intro for me. I apologize. Thank you for watching again. Really hyped for this draft. This draft really lived up to the hype. I think we probably could have gotten a few more trades, but that being said, we got really some surprising picks like Jalen Hurts. We got Jordan Love. We also got some really good picks, and it was really deep class overall. So it was fun to have sports again in this sports depleted world. And yeah, I will head out now. So thank you. Peace out and bye.